Hey there everyone, it's Nomad. So today we're going to be taking a look at Griot's Garage Trim Restore. Now the Trim Restore, when you get it from Griot's, just give you a basic rundown. It comes in 8 fluid ounces, comes in this nice little bottle. I really like the fact that they kind of do this domed top, kind of makes it easy, especially with their waxes and whatnot, to apply it, as well as kind of work it into some of the pads, things like that. For that 8 ounces, it costs you about 14-15 bucks, which isn't bad, all things considered. Basically, you apply it to trim pieces, and it restores that natural black finish that they have. This is the first time I've ever used a trim restore, so it's going to be something a little bit new for me, and see how it looks. And in no way is this a sponsored video. Just I like their products, and I do tend to use them over other ones. So we're going to get into it. Off camera, I'm going to give the Veloster a quick clean because she's already been detailed. Now for the trim restore, you can see this is a little faded here. It's not like a true black like the paint job. And it definitely doesn't look quite like it did when it was new. Part of that's just general wear and tear. Some of that is of my own doing. Just getting some buffing compound on this trim when I was learning how to detail and things like that. So first thing I'll do is shake up the trim restore, make sure everything's not settled at the bottom. And I'm going to apply it to this little applique. That way I can kind of control how I'm applying it, and I don't want to get any on the paint itself. And with this I can really get down in the cracks, get all of it. And initially it already looks darker, which is nice. One thing, like a lot of compounds and chemicals you use when you clean your cars, you gotta let it cure. Here you can see another worn spot. You can see this is where I've stopped applying the trim restore. Here's back where I've already applied it. You see it's got a little bit of a darker pattern to it. It looks a little bit more, in line with what it should have. It'll never be perfect again without replacing it, but it definitely does help. Now, you can see there's a discoloration here on this matte panel for the rear part of the door. You're supposed to be able to use the trim restore on pretty much any trim piece. Now, I did actually get to test this inside of the Griot's Garage in Tacoma, their flagship store. And I saw a few pieces, like we did a few small pieces, and they said you could use it on this here as well. So I'm giving that a shot there, because while it may not matter, and it may just be wear that maybe I can't restore, I do notice it, and I think part of that's just being a car person and what I do for a living. So I'm still going to use a small applicator versus the big foam pad that they do give you with this, just because I like to have a little bit more control, and I know I can be a little heavy-handed or kind of go all over the place sometimes. So I'm just going to use what I trust. Got some on there. Just going to start applying away. Kind of how I've been taught to do different things, and how I was kind of explained to use this. It's just you kind of paintbrush it on, as it were. Now it dries pretty fast, which is nice. It says it can take, let me double check, 8 to 12 hours to fully cure. Obviously, environment can be a factor in there. Washington being, pretty wet most of the time, at least at this point in the year. That may be slightly different. Again, I know I can be a little heavier with it, and just looking at how this particular trim piece is faded, I'm going to apply a second coat, and I'm definitely seeing a difference
at least with it initially kind of being that initial drying. And I'm definitely feeling some a little bit more resistance, as it were, that I applied this second coat. So I might have a little too much on there. That's fine. We'll work through that. And then I am blending it into the rest of the panel essentially, just because I'd like to, everything to look uniform. And realistically, you don't apply a whole lot of this anyways, so it's not gonna make or break me if I apply to the entire piece of trim. I do want to make sure I get this excess here. And if you have too much of a gloss, or if it doesn't look quite right, they recommend buffing it off with a microfiber towel to get some of it off, and to get it to where you want it to be, which is nice since it's not curing instantly. It gives you that ability to kind of go back if you don't get the results you want, or if it doesn't look quite how you want it to be. Again, I can be a little heavy-handed with stuff. Sorry, there's a plane going over. So for me, that's a good thing, because if I go a little too hard with it, well, I have the ability to try and fix my mistake. So it's been about 10 minutes since I did the applications to the entire trim piece, but primarily here, and then along this front section here. And so far, it definitely looks like it applied better than before. Ignore some of these white spots here down in the crevice. Those are old compound beads that got stuck there, and which is what led to me having to get a trim restore. Looking at the door itself for this panel, looks pretty good. Looks like there's a spot there that dried a little bit differently. Up here, you can definitely see this section here, which is where I was trying to restore. It's not quite uniform, but it definitely looks better than it did before. I'm going to give that time to cure still and see where that goes from there. But initially, I'm definitely a little bit more impressed than I was before. So my initial kind of thoughts on using it this time around, which again is the second time that I've used this particular product on the car, I'm definitely more satisfied. Can't say I'm impressed. Especially compared to my experience with other Griot's products. But at the end of the day, not everything's going to be perfect, and what I may do is reach out to them and see what their kind of thoughts are. Maybe I need to do it multiple times, and I'm probably going to do a little research and see if maybe I'm doing something wrong, or if there's something I can do to kind of increase that. My initial kind of thought is apply it a few different times, especially since those pieces have been worn for so long, and it's from compound. When I'm buffing or polishing, getting on there, which is essentially stripping away some of those upper layers of the coloring on those trim pieces. And again, that was just a learning experience on my part when I was first learning how to do detailing and things like that. You live some, you learn some, and you move on. Now I do mask those areas off, or just a lot more cautious about getting the buffing pad there, making sure even if I'm not masking that I don't touch those areas. So I want to thank everyone for watching. I know this video was definitely a little bit more choppy, but it's, again, something I'm learning, working on, getting better at, hopefully. And I'm going to put a link to the Griot's Trim Restore in the description below. And in the meantime, I am working on a few different videos. One of them is a comparison on wheel cleaners. The other one is a comparison on ceramic waxes. So keep an eye out for those. Hopefully those will be out here in March. And thanks again for watching. I will see you all soon.